it, I have been through 5 database conversions, and something I've learned that I want all of you to take back is, if you are a tech person and you are going through a database conversion, can you please talk to the users? You all have a perspective of what's really great and sparkly. You all like to see the latest sparkle. You need to talk to your users about what's sparkling that they need. So, right off the bat, why are you converting? Is it because it's sparkly, or is it because it's needed? What doesn't the current database do that your users, not you, not quite frankly, that the users need it to do? For example, does the current database not interface with some other software that you're using? We have a program that our finance folks use that wasn't necessarily working with the database well. So that was a consideration. Unfortunately, when the database was picked, there was a little, whoops, we should have asked staff about that. So I really encourage you to audit with your staff, what other software do you use that has to work with the database? Because if there's a disconnect there, there will be people running around with sharp implements in their hands coming after IT staff, or they'll be using language that may not necessarily be work appropriate. So take the time to ask staff questions. You can't assume that everybody's just using Excel and importing and exporting. That it doesn't work that way. So you have to step back and talk to the staff and ask them those questions. What are you tracking? What are you doing with your database? I do membership. Is there anything else databases are used for? Because if so, I'm not aware of it, because I'm a membership person and it's all about membership for me. So make sure you know the purpose of the database, what it is you want to use it for. I'm going to scoot you down a little bit. When you kind of, ask your peers. For example, there are other state associations. Colorado Nonprofit Association is one of 44 other state associations. Whoopsie, we should have called one of those other 44 and said, which database are you all using? We did not. If you have peer organizations that do work similar to yours, ask them what they're using. Ask them what they like about it, what they don't like about it. Would they buy it again? If not, why? If so, why? What is the best feature? What is really bad? And I'll give you a little tip on this one. They'll always tell you what's the worst first, because it's forefront in their mind. You know, I really wish it would fill in the blank. So please, please, please talk to your peers. You will get the best ideas from your peers than you can possibly imagine. You need to arrange demos. Every good database organization company will do a free demo for you. And it cannot just be the IT folks on the demo. It has to be hands-on. Everybody who uses the database comes relatively within 100 yards of the database, thinks they might someday touch the database, needs to be part of the demo. What some folks feel is very intuitive, like I'll sit down and go, isn't that intuitive? And somebody else goes, why did you look there? I go, because it's obvious. And I go, no, it's not. So everybody needs to have an opportunity to do that free demo. After the demo, after each individual demo, not after you're done 4 or 5, after each demo, you have to do a breakdown. What did you like about it? Where did you see it work? Where did you see it fail? How did it fill this need? How did it fill that need? Where did it miss the boat? You have to do it after each one, because if you do it after like 4 of them, they all blend together and look good. You know, we once tested a database that included photos, and somebody thought that was a really good idea, and I said, why is that a good idea? What photo which staffer am I going to have a photo of when I have 1,300 organizational memberships? Can you share with me whose photo I'm going to get with that? Yeah, there was like that moment. Oh, yeah, that's kind of a waste for us. It was a gimme that we didn't need. It was an extra that was unnecessary. So those demos, when you do that and you do those breakdowns, you get those great ideas about why things may or may not be needed. After you have your field kind of narrowed down, research again. I can't begin to tell you. Ask the provider. I'd like a list of references. Now, chances are, correct me if I'm wrong, they're only going to give you the list of references who's going to say wonderful and glowing things about them. But you can elicit information from these folks on the sly, just by the simple question, if there was one thing you could change about this database, what would it be? The other question you always have to ask is, can you tell me about the service you're getting from the provider? Can you tell me about tech support? You need to know response time. You need to know about, I'm sorry, I'm going to use the word here, surliness. I can honestly say, we work with WannaPixel. Nate and Josh have every reason to be surly with me because sometimes I'm frustrated and it comes through in a tone of voice in an email. Like yesterday I said I was going to get on my broom and fly around. And they responded back just really graciously, and at least in the email. I'm sure, you know, when they were typing up the email, there were a few choice words that went around that said something like I wasn't a witch, but another word. Truly. But yet the service level, from my perspective, has been really good. So you need to ask people who have used that database about that level of service. Don't count on the sales guys, because the sales reps will just tell you everything you want to hear. I promise you, if you need a database to do ABC, they'll tell you it's going to do ABC even though it only does XYZ. So you really have to talk to folks who have used and implemented the database. Back it up. I like to do sound effects with that, but I'll spare you. You have to back up your current database before you switch over. I printed a whole lot before our last database conversion. I knew that we still do paper invoices because people like to get a paper invoice. Accounting departments do not want an email. They want an invoice that they can staple at the bottom of half of a check to, and they can file it so that when the audit comes in, they've got that. They can prove they didn't just write a check for no good reason. So I was concerned that the first time I went to do invoicing after the database conversion that there would be a challenge. There was the first 3 times I tried to do it, so thank goodness I thought to print up lots of invoices, preparing for any kind of challenges that would come along. I knew, because I'd been through so many database conversions, that hiccups happen, and that's a nice way to say, you know what hits the fan. And just know it, and if you prep for it in your mind, it's not so bad. It just, you have to get used to it. 10, I have Recover. So WannaPixel here is in a very challenging position with our database conversion. The first company we hired to implement it made some tragic errors for us, and we haven't even hit number 10 Recover. And we did our last database conversion July 1, 2016. And we still have things that are broken, not working. Why I send emails that say I'm on a broom and I'm flying around. They're getting 18 months worth of my frustration. So when this is all said and done, not only am I going to drink heavily, go on a vacation, I'm going to demand a mental health day, so is Nate, because I have tortured him with everything that needs to be fixed all the time. It is not necessarily the funnest thing I've ever done. That's why my very first question always when somebody talks about a database conversion is why? Why? I remember when my second database conversion, we were like, it integrates with our website. We were like, wow, I had never seen that before. I was like, you mean I don't have to do this and this? So that was a really great one. So that's the kind of stuff you have to ask. Why are we doing this? What does it have that we don't have now that we absolutely have to have? Or what we have now, is there an update? Can we save money that way, or do we have to do it? I am just sharing with you my experience of 5 database conversions. I've learned something from each one of them. I'm always surprised that I know a little more than I thought I did, and you do too. If you are not a tech person, you have to speak up, or you will be mowed over by the IT folks telling you why you need this new database. You have to speak up, and tech folks, you have to listen to every concern they have. Because if not, they're going to be in your face all the time, torturing you like I torture Nate. We don't have an IT department, it's for Nate. So, is there any questions? I'm just a user, guys. I'm just an IT user girl. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to make a comment from the tech side. Because the opposite is also true. If you're having someone in the organization make a decision about doing a migration and not involving staff,
Oh, I can't imagine.
you can run in your columns. You don't want to find out after you rolled it in when somebody says like, oh, but this doesn't work with, or how did you think that was going to work when you know our internet speed's really slow? Things like that. So
All the parties have to be at the table. There's no choice with that.
Talk to those IT people and listen to their concerns.
Yeah, and just remember that they really are people too. They're not.
Yes, we are.
Well, no, it's true. I mean, it's true. There's kind of this belief that IT people are, you know.
What do you mean, you people?
Yeah, there's kind of, and I could say that because my oldest son worked his way through college, being an IT person, and I said to him, you have to talk to users like you would your mom, because they're not calling you because they're stupid. They're calling you because, no, they don't know all they have to do is hit Control-Alt-Delete to reboot the computer. So don't get frustrated with them, you know, because I could see them go, how can you not know that? They just don't. So, yes, ma'am.
So Jerry, Jack and I just went through a database conversion, and something that I'm noticing that I'm keeping a list of is my hindsight's 2020 list of what I would ask the developers ahead of time, and why, you know, if we're experiencing a conversion hangover or whatever your 10 was, like, what are those specific things that you wish you would have done wrong? And can you talk about, you guys are still, so 2016, so it's been a year and 4 months since you guys transitioned, you're still feeling that. You know, what are some specific things that you feel like would have went better, and you maybe your hangover would have lasted half the amount of time?
I can tell you we did not do an audit.
Okay, tell us more about that.
So if I were in charge of us selecting a new database, I would actually spend the money to hire an outside firm to audit exactly how we use our database. I do things, you all do things every day with your software and your database that you don't always remember or think about. It's just habit. It's just what you do. Had we had somebody, an independent person, come in and watch how we work with our database, ask appropriate questions, I'm quite certain we wouldn't have started with the company that we started with. I'm not sure we would have ended up with the product we did. I don't know. I will say, failing to do that audit, in one particular situation, we do accrual counting. The database we have does cash. Failure, whoops. So failure to do that audit has now got this poor guy trying to figure out how to make it all work together.
And there's people out there, consultants. And
there are wonderful consultants. Now, you're going to have to budget for it. But I'll just be honest with you. Pay now or pay a whole lot more later, because it's a mental health thing too. I mean, there are days that I'm like, okay, I just lost an hour of work trying to figure out how to get this to work together. And had we had that audit in the very beginning, all of that time and money could have been saved. If you can afford it, I think that's such a good way to go versus everybody trying to meet and write down, because I promise you'll forget something. Just stuff you do out of habit without thinking twice about it. Interactions that the database has with other software. You just don't think about it. That's my big, I couldn't, and he's nodding because he knows that's a good one. Are there any other questions? Again, I am a total non-tech person. This has just been my experience. I can tell you honestly, in the 5 database conversions, there's been one time they pulled all staff in and asked us what our needs were and what we thought needed to be done, versus management saying, well, this is how we see this working. And then they talked to IT, and IT said, this is your solution. And then all the staff were just like going, I'm sorry, what? Pardon me, how's this going to work? So I really, really encourage all round. Yes, sir.
A Facebook Live viewer asks, are there consultants that specialize in nonprofits, or is that important?
I don't think it's important. I think there probably are consultants. Off the top of my head, I can't think of one, but, and if you are talking to a consultant, nonprofits, your very first question is, what's your nonprofit rate?
Mhm.
Yeah, don't ever assume a business does not have a nonprofit rate. And if they say, oh, we don't have one, just kind of do the yeah. Any business is going to have a nonprofit rate, yeah. So you got to give them the
And to that user, I think, to that user on Facebook Live, that I think there are a lot of consultants that are just focused on nonprofits. And if you're searching for someone, I think that niche falls under sort of program evaluation. A data consultant, someone that does that, generally has a nonprofit niche in database conversions as well. If you're just doing a blind Google search, a lot of consultants specifically consult for nonprofits. To answer that question.
And don't buy, you don't always need a Cadillac. Chevys do the same thing as Cadillacs do. They get you from point A to point B. They may not have all the bells and whistles, but your organization may not need all the bells and whistles. If you need a Cadillac, buy a Cadillac. But if a Chevy will do, get the Chevy. You know, you can always, add little things, go to Car Toys and add little things. You can always, add little things to your database. Most databases have, add-ons that you can work with. I'm a big proponent of not buying a Cadillac. Any other questions? I hope something of what I said was helpful to you. You can find this 10 considerations on the WannaPixel website. They have it on theirs. And if you're a member of the Colorado Nonprofit Association, log in. It's under our Knowledge Center. So thank you so much. I hope something I said was helpful, and you all have great conversions.